In the heart of the Arctic, where icy winds dance and snow glistens under the northern lights, lies the tale of Percy Penguin. He was just a regular penguin dreaming of extraordinary adventures until one day his world quite literally went adrift. This is the incredible story of Percy Penguin and his lost ice floe. Picture this: you're a penguin minding your own business in the middle of the Arctic Circle, pecking for fish and waddling with your pals. But then, bam! The ground beneath you. Well, it wasn't really ground. It was an ice floe carrying you and your entire penguin colony far, far away from home. Our hero, Percy Penguin, is just an ordinary penguin with not-so-ordinary dreams. While the other penguins in his colony were happy to live their everyday lives, Percy couldn't help but dream of adventures beyond the horizon. Now, Percy wasn't the clumsiest penguin around, but he wasn't the most graceful either. In fact, he was known for his hilarious slip-ups, much to the amusement of the other penguins. One particularly crisp morning, Percy woke up with the sun shining brightly on his face. It was just another day in paradise, or so he thought, as he joined his fellow penguins for their daily fish hunt. Percy couldn't shake off a nagging feeling that something was off. The ice seemed unusually quiet, and the wind, it carried a strange tune. Little did Percy know that the ice floe he'd been on his whole life had started to break apart. It all happened in the blink of an eye. One moment, Percy was happily swimming after a particularly plump fish, and the next, he found himself alone, separated from his colony and floating on a piece of drift ice. Panic surged through him. What had happened? Where was everyone? And then a realization struck him like a ton of bricks. The ice floe had broken. He was lost at sea. The initial shock wore off, replaced by a dawning sense of wonder. The sun beat down warmly on his back, and the sound of the waves lapping against the ice was strangely soothing. Percy took a deep breath, puffed out his chest, and told himself, "Don't worry, Percy, you'll be all right." With that newfound resolve, he set about exploring his unexpected surroundings. As he ventured further, he saw towering icebergs that looked like frozen giants against the backdrop of the endless blue sky. The wind whispered tales of the Arctic's wild beauty, and Percy felt a thrill course through him. This was an adventure, and he was in the thick of it. But as the hours passed, the novelty began to wear off. The sun climbed higher, the shadows grew longer, and Percy's belly rumbled with hunger. He needed food, and fast. His keen eyes spotted a group of seals lounging on an iceberg nearby. An idea sparked in his mind. With a sudden burst of energy, he waddled to the edge of his ice floe and shouted, "Excuse me, Mr. Seal, could you spare a fish or two? I'm terribly hungry." The seals, startled by the talking penguin, popped their heads up in surprise. They exchanged amused glances, then dove back into the water with a splash. "Rude," muttered Percy, feeling rather dejected. Just then, a sleek Arctic tern zoomed past, its wings cutting through the air with effortless grace. Percy, inspired, flapped his stubby wings and shouted, "Hey, Speedy, can you help a penguin out?" The tern, as swift and sly as it was, only tilted its head in query before darting away. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows over the ice, Percy felt a wave of loneliness wash over him. All around him, the Arctic was coming alive with the calls of its creatures, and yet he was utterly alone. Just when his spirits were at their lowest, he heard it, a sound that sent a jolt of excitement through him. It was the call of a penguin, a call he knew all too well. Could it be? Was he hearing things? Or was there another penguin out there in the vast expanse of the Arctic? Hope surged through him, urging him to listen closely. He strained his ears, trying to catch the sound again. And then he heard it once more, carried on the wind, a faint but unmistakable penguin call. This wasn't a figment of his imagination. there were other penguins out there somewhere. With renewed determination, Percy set about navigating his ice floe closer to the sound. Every penguin call fueled his hope, whispering promises of rescue. After what felt like an eternity, the calls grew louder, more distinct. And then, oh, what a moment that was! He saw it. On the horizon, barely discernible, but undoubtedly there, was the faint outline of a coastline. Could it be? Was this the edge of his colony's territory? With a surge of adrenaline, Percy gathered the last of his strength for one final push. He waddled to the front of his ice floe, flapping his wings with all his might, steering it towards the distant land. The journey seemed endless, but Percy's determination never wavered. Finally, as the last vestiges of daylight faded away, he saw it, the welcoming sight of his colony in the distance. With a final burst of speed, Percy guided his ice floe towards the safety of the familiar shore. As dawn broke over the Arctic, bathing the ice in soft, ethereal light, Percy Penguin stumbled onto the shore. His journey had an end. His body ached, his feathers were ruffled, but his spirit soared with the triumphant joy of being home. He had done it. He had survived the perilous journey, and he had found his way back to his beloved colony. The sight of his family, their faces etched with worry, quickly fading into relief, washed over him. He had made it back. The reunion was filled with joyous squawks and nuzzles. Percy's adventure, a tale that would echo through the generations of penguins to come. From that day forward, Percy was never the same. His adventure had not only tested his limits, but had also broadened his horizons, instilling in him a sense of resilience and resourcefulness that no amount of fish or cozy huddle could provide. And whenever the younger penguins gathered around, listening to tales of bravery and adventure, they knew that in their midst was Percy Penguin, the hero who had stared into the abyss of the Arctic's fury and emerged victorious, forever reminding them that even in the face of the harshest conditions, hope and courage could guide the way home.